it's been about 9 months since the Biden administration started, and Joe Biden ran on and he was elected on, saying that he was going to be the competent person in charge and he was going to contain the virus. And now, like I said, almost 9 months into his administration, and the virus is raging out of control. It's more out of control than it's ever been. ICUs and hospitals are full to capacity across the country. And they really are doing fuck all to contain the virus. It's really been a fucking free for all and like the Wild West. And the strategy from the government hasn't been much different than what was happening under the Trump administration. But unlike when Donald Trump was president, now when the virus is raging out of control, apparently it's not the fault of the people who run government and craft national policy to deal with the emergency. Now it's not their fault that the virus is out of control. It's not their fault that so many people are dying of COVID. Now it's everybody else's fault. Now it's our fault. And it seems like once the vaccine was produced, everybody just acted like that was it and the virus is over. And clearly that's not the case, because the vaccine has been produced, and what do you know? It's like I said, it's still raging out of control, more infections than ever, and the amount of deaths are increasing, over 1,000 deaths a day now. So clearly more needs to be done on the part of the government and institutions to contain the virus and protect the public than to just produce a vaccine and act like that's the end of the story, and then whatever happens after that. But like I said, there's been this it's a dangerous narrative that I've seen being pushed by the White House and by Democrats who control government right now. And it's to demonize regular citizens and act like it's their fault that this virus is raging out of control. And like they have no control over, like as if they have no ability to affect the outcome of what's happening. And it literally is just because people haven't taken the vaccine. And because of that, you can just go and blame them. And everything therefore after that therefore is justified, including what we're about to talk about right now, which is these vaccine mandates. For a while, I haven't really watched mainstream media's coverage of the pandemic because it's been absolutely terrible. But over the last few days, I have. And it's clear to me that they are pushing this idea that everybody who hasn't taken the vaccine is irresponsible and it's their fault for the situation that we're in. And it's really the definition of punching down. And they've basically absolved the people in power of their responsibility to protect the public. And what I keep hearing in elite circles is, oh, we've done everything we can. Therefore, these vaccine mandates, it's the Hail Mary, that's all we have left. Let the government use brute force to have people get injections that they aren't comfortable with, because that's the only way that we can prevent hundreds of thousands of people from continuing to die from this virus. And I don't think that's the truth. First of all, there are other ways to contain the virus that have nothing to do with a vaccine. And I don't know why people refuse to acknowledge that's the truth. The countries that have handled the virus the best so far have done it without the vaccine. Again, a truth that people do not want to acknowledge. So if they've been able to do it in Japan, they've been able to do it in Australia, they've been able to do it in New Zealand and in other countries. So, and there are criticisms to be had about some of those countries and whether they've gone too far, and there are legitimate criticisms to be made there. But the fact of the matter is, in these countries like Australia, there've been less than 1,000 COVID deaths. In Japan, I think there've been barely over 1,000 COVID deaths. In New Zealand, there've been barely any COVID deaths, maybe in the couple hundred or around 1,000. So they are doing something better than we are, and again, it has nothing to do with the vaccine. So if the if we are talking about exhausting all possible options before option that really should be the last available option, which is, like I said, the government by brute force forcing everybody to get a vaccine, we should have exhausted all other options before we get to that point, and we haven't, and we just jump straight to that point. I think people have the right to object to that. So if everybody's so concerned about the deaths, okay, I'm concerned about deaths too. I think hundreds of thousands of people dying in this country is unacceptable, and I think all the politicians who've overseen this disaster should be run out of office. And but if we want to talk about getting dramatically reducing deaths, why isn't the government mobilizing all of their forces to implement single payer in this country? Hundreds of thousands of lives could have been saved if we had single payer in this country. So if the concern is with saving lives, why isn't that one of the top priorities? Why isn't that an option on the table? Why isn't that one of the possibilities that have been exhausted? It hasn't. That's not even an option on the table. Because why the Democrats want to protect their health insurance, their donors in the health insurance industry and in Big Pharma. So we care about deaths, but not enough to cut into the profits of Big Pharma. So we're going to force you to get the vaccine. If you want to talk about ways to reduce deaths, you know what a good way to reduce deaths would be? Doing an actual effective lockdown, not this bullshit that's been going on for the last year. And because they refuse to do an actual lockdown like they've done in New Zealand and like they've done in Australia, where they pay everybody thousands of dollars a month to stay home until the pandemic is under control. If they wanted to contain the virus, that is an option on the table, and they refuse to do it. How many lives could be saved if all these people, millions and millions of people, were not forced to go into the workforce every single day because the way that they've wanted to pretend like this isn't a thing and that everything's back to normal so that they can reopen the economy? How many lives would be saved if people were not forced to go out while a pandemic is raging out of control? And I'm not saying that people aren't right to be hesitant when it comes to the lockdowns, because that is another huge power for the government to have. And we've seen how they've already misused it over the last year. But if they do it the right way, they can contain the virus. If they do it the right way for a month or a month and a half, had they done it from the beginning, it would have never been this out of control. Like I said, look at New Zealand, look at Australia. So if you want to save lives, if that's the concern here, why isn't that an option? Oh, because they don't want people to be too comfortable and to not be in this constant state of desperation and needing to participate in capitalism and prostitute yourself to capitalism to make enough money to survive. If people don't have that type of pressure, for once, maybe they can reevaluate their lives and try to move away from the way that the economy has been run for decades, which is just wage slavery and exploitation of workers. They don't want to give people the idea that they deserve better, so they're not going to pay people to stay home, which is why they've given us over the entire pandemic. Some people at best got a couple $1,000s from the government, and many people haven't gotten anything at all. And similar to that, you want to while this is going on, they allowed the federal unemployment expansions to expire, kicking millions of people off of unemployment, and again forcing them to go out and work in a pandemic while it's spreading worse than ever, while ICUs and hospitals are more full than ever. You want to contain the virus? Why did you allow the eviction? Why are we allowing evictions? Why are we allowing tens of millions of people to be thrown out of their homes in the middle of a pandemic, where now they are out in public in the elements and they have no way to protect themselves or their families from the virus? If you want less people to die from the pandemic, how about stop throwing them out in the streets to catch the virus? So I just listed, and this isn't nearly all of the ways that the government could go about preventing deaths or drastically reducing the amount of deaths. But they refuse to do any of those things. And it's just, like I said, as soon as the vaccine was produced, it's a vaccine or nothing, and vaccine or die. And okay, so we talked about all the other ways that we could actually limit deaths. If that's what the goal is, we can actually limit and dramatically reduce deaths in this country that have nothing to do with the vaccine, and the government refuses to do any of those things. So that being the case, why is it that people don't want to take the vaccine? And this is something else that I've noticed in the last couple of days when I through seeing these elites talk. It's so much, like I said, punching down and condescending and talking down and trying to shame people into taking the vaccine. And clearly that doesn't work. That strategy hasn't worked at all. Like I said, I can't name a single person that's convinced to take the vaccine. But more than that, it's clear that they don't even know who it is that refused to take the vaccine, and they don't know why it is that they refuse to take the vaccine. Because if you talk to any of these fucking shit libs or any of these people in elite circles, you talk to any of these politicians or anybody in the media, they will tell you it's a bunch of dangerous Trump supporters, right-wing, anti-science Trump supporters who are being misinformed by fake news, and they don't want to take the vaccine. They don't care about the community, and these are just evil, vile people, and if they get sick, they deserve to die. That's the way that they've described. That's literally the only characterization of an unvaccinated person that you would hear from these shit libs and these elites. But the reality is, most of the people that I know that haven't taken the vaccine, it's people who are skeptical of the government and skeptical of institutions. There is a crisis of credibility among these institutions, and it is undeniable, and it is completely deserved because of the decades of the way that they've misused and abused public trust. So now we're in an emergency, and people do not trust the institutions that they should trust. And instead of ever, nobody has addressed that reality and addressed that dynamic of why people haven't gotten the vaccine. And they not that they're downplaying that, they refuse to even acknowledge that is a real thing. The crisis of credibility among the institutions and how much it's deserved and how much it's earned. So again, if you think that taking the vaccine is the way to deal with this pandemic, why don't you actually address the reasons why people don't want to take it? They're skeptical of these institutions. I haven't once heard people level with the people who haven't taken the vaccine and be like, you know what? The government has lied about everything in your life. You know what? The government has lied about everything about COVID since the start of this pandemic, and they haven't looked out for you at all. And you know what? These big pharma corporations, Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, they've all have done criminal actions, and they've all misused and abused public trust, and they've even led to the deaths of thousands of people for their own corporate profits. All of those things are true, but I think you should take the vaccine anyway, and here's the reason X, Y, and Z. Nobody is making that argument. I haven't taken the vaccine. But I guarantee if there was an actual concerted effort to be real about the state of the crisis of credibility in institutions, and if there is a legitimate effort to ameliorate that crisis of credibility, you might convince more people to take it. You and 100,000% have a better chance of convincing more people to take the vaccine than just browbeating them and trying to shame them and be like, oh, well, it's your fault that all these people are dying and all this and that. And then the one last thing, last area I want to touch on, the fact that people have not been, many people have not been convinced that scientifically taking this vaccine as it is the best option. Again, I'm not here to tell people what to do, what not to do, but it is a legitimate concern because this is a virus, unlike any virus anyone has ever seen in their lifetime. How easily it's spread and the symptoms that people have, how the wide range of symptoms, it affects everybody differently. Literally everybody who gets the virus is affected differently. So this is something that scientists and doctors still don't completely understand. Yes, they understand COVID and there have been previous COVID viruses, coronavirus viruses and things like that. But what we're dealing with right now, they don't have. It isn't something that they know exactly to the detail about how this virus works and how it works on the human body. That is, they just don't know it. It has they haven't had enough time to study it, and I don't care that they had made the virus the vaccines. They still don't know exactly how this virus works. So they've made the vaccines, rushed vaccines that they were managed to make in months. And again, you can tell me, you sit here and argue with me about, oh, they've been studying these things for years and whatever. Okay, but this is record time to come up with a vaccine for something, again, a virus that we still to this day don't understand. So people are going to take more convincing. It's going to take some people more convincing that you knew exactly what you were doing when you made that vaccine. And what isn't helping the case of convincing people that it's safe is the fact that, and again, this is just something people refuse to acknowledge and just level with people about. Instead, they want to act like it's 100% scientifically proven that this vaccine is the best thing you could ever take. You should take the vaccine like 6 times a day because it's so great. They're just like bending over backwards to dismiss the concerns of people without actually addressing them. And when it comes to the safety of the vaccine, yes, many people have taken it, and yes, they haven't dropped dead. That is true. But there are people, you don't know exactly how it's going to work with everybody. There have been bad reactions to it. And there have been, further on that, when it comes to the science of it, so the CDC back in May decided that they weren't going to track breakthrough COVID cases. So people who had the vaccine and got COVID anyway, they said that they weren't going to track those cases. So if people are skeptical about the vaccine because they don't know it works, and everybody is telling us you need to take it because science, why then did scientists and the public health officials decide, you know what, we are going to keep data on how the virus actually works on people in the public, but we're just going to tell people it works, believe us, it works, and we're just not going to keep any data, track any data to prove whether or not that's true. How is that science? And this is what is just really irking the shit out of me. There's this cult of science now, but they aren't actually doing science because, one, nobody's allowed to criticize the dear leaders anymore. Nobody's allowed to ask questions of the public health officials. It's like what they say is gospel and you're not allowed to question it, and if you do, it's your fault that we're in a pandemic. And then also with the with like not tracking the breakthrough cases. What part of that is science? What part of that is science? In science, you collect as much data in every single area that you can to make as an informed a decision as you possibly can. So when they tell me that they're not going to track the breakthrough cases, that again, it just, with the people who have produced it, the public health officials who are advocating it, and the politicians that are now trying to mandate it, none of them have any credibility, not a fucking ounce of it. And so what would convince people, what would help people to make an informed decision for themselves to take the vaccine would be data showing that it works. And they decided to not collect the data. And the only explanation I could possibly come up with, it's not like they decided not to collect the data because it was going to prove them right this whole time. The only explanation I could come up with is they decided not to collect the data because they didn't want to deal with the possibility that it shows them something that doesn't line up with what they've been saying. So again, it's just all of this dishonest behavior that's making people, that's brought us to this place where people do not have trust in these institutions, and it's just more of it. So now they're going about vaccine mandates, and they try to do it through employers and force people to do it through their jobs, or for right now they're doing it. Some private companies at the direction and the urging of the Biden administration, they were already doing vaccine mandates. Now, they are demanding that anybody who is a federal contractor, does work for the federal government, all your employees need to be vaccinated by a certain date, or else you will lose your contracts. So, like I said, this is like quite literally some of the most extreme position that the government can take here, like forcing people to take these vaccines instead of coming up with any of these other ways to contain the virus, like I listed before, and to manage deaths and drastically reduce the amount of deaths. They refuse to take any of those steps, and they're going to just through the brute force of the government demand people go about it the way that they decide. And another thing about it is, like I said, this is like the most extreme option. And once they go this route, and people do start calling their bluff now, and they're gonna do the mandates through employers, and people just say, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna take the vaccine, and if it means I'm gonna lose my job, I'm gonna lose my job." So then, what did you just do now? People who maybe have been on the fence or whatever it is, you just forced them out of a job in the middle of an economic crisis and put them in a situation where they can face economic calamity because they did do something that they weren't comfortable with. What sense does that make? And undoubtedly, there are going to be millions of people who oppose this. There are going to be millions of people who oppose this. So, on top of the millions of people who were already in financial calamity, already facing homelessness, we're going to add to that number with a mandate of the vaccine instead of doing any of these other steps to address the pandemic that I listed before. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section. And this is going to be controversial video. I haven't said everything I had to say about the pandemic and the way the Biden administration has been handling it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. So some of you may have noticed that the setup is a little bit different, and I have some news on that. Good news, a little bit of not so good news, but the background's different because before, for the last year, basically, I was staying at my sister's place, and I'm no longer staying there, so don't really have a place to a regular place to record. So right now I'm in a hotel room trying to record. But the good news is that for those of you who've been following the show for a little bit, I set up a GoFundMe for equipment for the show, and you guys came through with the money I asked for to upgrade the equipment for the show, and I bought a new laptop so I can hook it up with the camera. I didn't in this video because it's technical issues, so I just wanted to record this. But the upgrade in the video quality, well, the video quality would be the same as it has been on the show for a little while. But if you notice, audio quality has improved. I bought lights, and so I'm upgrading the show, trying to upgrade the quality of the show for you all. And like I said, I don't technically have a regular place to record, but I'm never gonna stop doing the show for you guys. I have some money to get a hotel room maybe once or twice a week, and I'm gonna record videos, and there will be live streams too, because I got a new laptop that's capable of live streaming now. So there'll be live streams too, and I just want to make the show better for you all because you guys definitely came through for me. And I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get a place on my own, but I need the money first. So that's what I've been doing for a little while. That's why I've been missing. I haven't been posting as much content as I should be. But I just want to let you guys know that how grateful I am for this upgrade in the equipment, and over the next couple days you will see even more improvement in the quality of the show, and I'm committed to making the show as best as I can for you guys, and the show's all I have right now, so I really am going to put everything I have into the show. And you guys, again, I can't say how grateful I am. All the people who were incredibly generous to in their donations to upgrade the quality of the show. So I'm not going to let you guys down. I'm not just going to stop recording. The show will always go on. The show must go on. And I just wanted to say how grateful I am for you all. So you all know the links are in the description box of the YouTube channel and of this video. So thank you guys so much. And yes, I will be reading on the comments in the comment section. So let me know what you guys think.